Guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jay, and in today's video we're gonna be working on some window panels. I've had a lot of people ask me how I was venting in my diesel heater for my camper, and so I thought I'd make the video to help everyone out, anyone who needs to make their own. On today's video we're gonna be working on this intake that my buddy Brandon owns. This is actually the same intake I used to have back in the days. Very good unit, very nice unit. And Brandon wanted to be able to vent in his EcoFlow Wave 2 so that he can use it for extra AC or heat when he's in there. This is my buddy Brandon. What's up, Brandon? And I'm gonna start by showing you guys my original setups that I've done for mine. So this is one of the first ones I've done for my truck when I was doing some car camping. It's very simple, but very similar to how I've done the other one for my camper and how we're going to be doing the one for Brandon's camper. Basically, it's an 1/8 of an inch wood paneling with about an inch thick of insulation with some sort of venting port to run the hoses. For the one on the camper, I've done the same thing using the same materials, except that I wanted to have this for my diesel heater, and I wanted to have a return so I could recirculate the air for extreme cold weather days. On this, we could see it bare, what we actually use to make those panelings. Again, 1/8 of an inch board. Doesn't really matter the material, but I believe this is pine. 1 inch thick insulation board. In Brandon's case, we're gonna be using some bracketing here that was made by a buddy of ours, Patrick. These were actually made. How do you make these?
3D printed.
3D printed. So this will be installed somewhere in here as we cut and fit this, and it'll be one for the exhaust and then one for the actual air coming in and out, or actually heat and AC, and then one for the exhaust. With that said, guys, again, welcome back. I'm with my buddy Brandon. We're gonna get started. This first step, we're going to be taking the wooden panel and we're going to put it on the opposite side in the inner part of the camper so that we can trace the window cutout. And in this case, because the camper is a little bit bigger and inconvenient for me to do it both ways, I'm going to have Brandon hold it on the opposite side. Just making sure that you cover the whole window. When the whole window is covered, you want to trace the shape of the window out. Now, you technically don't have to do the entire window because you only need enough for the vent holes. So we're gonna go ahead and cut this board probably somewhere down the middle. But what we really want to do is follow the shape and the curvature of the end of the window. The next thing you want to do when you have the shape of the cutout that you want to do is you want to add about, I say about 1/4 of an inch on one end, because that would be the end that's gonna fall into the opening of the window track. So in my case, I measured the window track, the inserts, and I know that it's about 1/2 inch on the inside of the tracks. So I'm just gonna add about 1/4 of an inch to allow the wood paneling to sit inside. So another reason why you want to sand down the edges is because when I seal this with black tape, it's going to get a little thicker, so you still want it to fit. All right, guys, so on this next step, we're going to go ahead and we're going to be using the 3D made brackets here as templates so we can cut out the holes where we need them to be. All right, guys, so now that we have our panel for the window, we need to trace the installation. So we're gonna go ahead and put the panel on the installation, and we're gonna go ahead and get it to go as close to the edges as possible so you don't have to cut longer than what you really should. And we'll go ahead and trace it. And what you wanna do after you trace everything is you want to cut the insulation foam or insulation board a little bit smaller, because we want the board to be able to go into the tracks and the insulation just to help insulate the air inside the camper. So what we're gonna do is, once we have the trace, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's all traced. We're gonna go ahead and, using the same board, you will just bring in the installation just a notch on all ends. All right, guys, so once you got your holes cut out, you could do a last minute check to see if everything's gonna line up. And you want it to again be a little bit smaller, leaving a lip around the wood that's gonna go into the window track all the way around. And make your final cuts once you align the holes with the foam board. So that means that some of those adjustments will be on the hole, and then of course we're gonna go ahead and trim these corners off as well on the foam board. All right, guys, so once you got the board and the insulation together, we want to go ahead and put a piece of tape just to do a quick fitment test, make sure everything's going to be good. So I'll grab some tape. And we'll walk over to the window just to make sure it is the way it's supposed to be. real quick, I wanted to show you how it should be looking so far. On this side, it should be a nice firm fit. The wood is inside the tracks here. Your memory foam is on the outside. Doesn't really matter where the, not the memory foam, I'm sorry, the insulation foam. It doesn't really matter where it sits because you're gonna cover it all up with tape. But in this case, because the brackets are gonna go on the inside, I wanted the wood to be on the inside. As you can see, everything's inside the tracks all the way around, and that's what's gonna hold it in place. So when we do close the window, now this will go all the way up to here, covering the wood, but the track, the bracket there will probably stop it here. But when you close the window would butt up right up to it, fully finishing the installation of the board. So we're gonna get back to the next step, which is putting a little bit of glue and putting in the brackets. What we did here was we used a little bit of clear silicone, waterproof silicone, to adhere the insulation foam to the wood panel. That's probably gonna take a day to fully dry, but for now it holds it in place. And next step is we're gonna go ahead and cover the entire panel with some black tape. The black tape is not only gonna seal it and protect it from water when you have it in the window in case it rains, it's also gonna camouflage it so it doesn't look like an eyesore when you have it in the window. All right, guys, so the last thing we're gonna do is screw these, or both these 3D printed brackets on, and we'll test the hoses. All right, guys, so now we're gonna show you what it looks like, or what it's supposed to look like finished or almost finished, because we did order some vent deflector caps that didn't come in on time. So we did what we could today, but you'll get the gist of this if you just follow the steps on the video. So if you notice over here, we have the EcoFlow Wave 2, and it is vented. Everything fits perfect. Now, you might have a situation where you might have a little bit of an opening because the window is curved. What I did for mine was I added tape, but the tape is very loose, like a flap. So when I close it, the tape is very thin and flappy, so it'll cover right past that little curve. We have the EcoFlow already running, and I honestly wish you could feel this nice cold air because it is hot and muggy today and I'm a little bit sweaty, but look at how nice that finish looks and how clean it all came out. Now, if you're wondering how you would do this for a diesel heater, same concept. Everything is the same. You would just get a 3-inch port. You can get it on Amazon to be able to put a diesel hose, 3-inch diesel hose for a diesel heater in there. On this side, we're still missing the vent caps. It would be something like this. This is the one for my camper. So he'll have one aiming down and the other one aiming down, so that way water doesn't get in it if it's raining. So of course we just left it like that for now, but that is the finishing touch. Now another thing I recommend doing is taking that silicone that I use inside to glue the board to the installation board. I would put a lot of that marine caulking around all of this, so you don't have any moisture going in between on both. Just fill it. And then of course when you put the caps, the vent caps, then you could do the same on the vent caps. And that's about it. That's it, guys. Again, I wanted to share how I did mine. I had a lot of people asking me on both when I did my car camping trip and also when I did my camper. People were asking me, and this is how I did it. This is not the only way to do it. There's many other ways. I'm sure there's probably somebody else on YouTube that's doing it their way. This is my way. It works for me, and it works for my buddy Brandon. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, it turned out well. I can't wait to actually use it for the off-grid purposes. So
yeah, you happy?
It's nice. I am.
2 thumbs up.
Yes.
Where can they find me?
FindingJ.com and FindingJ on YouTube. Like and subscribe.
Thanks for watching.